On November 18, 2025, NASA released high-resolution photographs of interstellar comet 3I Atlas taken by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter during its closest approach on October 2nd. What they didn't tell you is that between September 28th and October 3rd, something impossible happened. During that 5-day window, 3I Atlas passed through a coronal mass ejection that should have vaporized its outer shell, yet it emerged intact with its coma glowing brighter than before. I know this because I was watching it through my grandfather's telescope from my farm outside Alamogordo, New Mexico, and I recorded something that night that NASA either didn't see or chose not to share. My name is David Mercer. I'm a fifth-generation cattle rancher, not a scientist, not a mystic, just a man who lost his faith when my wife Sarah died of cancer 3 years ago. I stopped praying. I stopped believing in anything beyond what I could touch and measure. But on the night of September 29th, 2025, at exactly 11:47 p.m. Mountain Time, I saw a pulse of crystalline light emanate from 3I Atlas and expand outward in a perfect sphere, and my camera captured it. That footage is the reason I'm telling you this story, because what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about the universe and about God. The weeks before that night had been the worst of my life since Sarah's death. The bank was threatening foreclosure. I lost 40 head of cattle to a disease the veterinarians couldn't identify. I was drinking too much and sleeping in the barn more often than the house because our bedroom still smelled like her lavender soap. On September 28th, I'd made the decision. I had my grandfather's revolver cleaned and loaded. I was going to finish it that night after one last look at the stars, the way Sarah and I used to do on our anniversary. I set up the telescope on the ridge behind the barn, the same spot where I proposed to her 23 years earlier. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I'd read online that some interstellar comet was passing through, but I didn't care about comets. I just wanted to see the sky one more time before I left it forever. Then I saw it. Not just the comet, but the light. At first, I thought it was a camera malfunction, some kind of lens flare or atmospheric distortion, but I felt it too. A vibration in my chest, like standing next to a bass speaker at a concert, except there was no sound. The air around me became warm, almost hot, despite the October chill. And then I saw the figure standing 20 feet behind me, exactly where nothing had been 3 seconds before. He was tall, maybe 7 feet, but his proportions were wrong. His limbs were too long, his torso too narrow, and his head was shaped like an inverted teardrop, widening at the top. But it was his eyes that made me drop to my knees. They weren't black like in the movies. They were gold and they moved like liquid mercury, and when he looked at me, I felt every lie I'd ever told, every moment of cowardice, every failure, all of it exposed like an X-ray of my soul. He spoke, but not with his mouth. The words formed inside my mind, clear as if he was standing next to my ear. "You were about to choose the wrong door, David Mercer." I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. He walked toward me, and I noticed he didn't disturb the grass. His feet touched the ground but left no impression. "That vessel you are watching," he said, gesturing toward the sky, "is not what your scientists believe it to be. It is a seed carrier. It is a herald, and it is shielded by technology that your species will not discover for another 300 years, unless you are given the key." He reached into the air, and I watched his hand disappear into nothing like he was reaching through a curtain I couldn't see. When he pulled it back, he was holding something. A fragment. Metallic, but not like any metal I'd ever seen. It was the size of a silver dollar, perfectly circular, and it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. This fell from the shield matrix on September 29th at 11:47 p.m. when the solar wind struck it. Your NASA will announce the coronal mass ejection hit 3I Atlas on September 30th. They are wrong. It happened 17 hours earlier. You have proof of that in your camera. He placed the fragment in my hand, and the moment it touched my skin, I saw. I saw the comet, but not as a comet. I saw it as a vessel, hollow inside, filled with something that looked like liquid light. I saw it traveling for 63,000 years, launched from a star system your astronomers call HD 98800, a quadruple star system 150 light years from Earth. I saw the beings who built it, tall and slender like him, but older, with eyes that carried the weight of millennia. And I saw what they put inside. Not technology, not weapons, seeds, genetic seeds, consciousness seeds, memory seeds, seeds of the third attempt. He pulled me back before I could ask what that meant. "Your species is not the first," he said. "You are not even the second. You are the third iteration of conscious biological life in this galaxy seeded by the architects. The first iteration destroyed itself in nuclear fire 400 million years ago. The second iteration ascended beyond physical form, but lost compassion in the process and faded into the void. You are the third, and you are failing the test. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't obey. What test? The words came out as a whisper. The test of duality, he said. Can a species embrace both the material and the spiritual? Can it hold the knowledge of atoms and the wisdom of the soul in the same hand? Your Jesus Christ understood this. He was one of us, incarnated into your form to show you the path. He said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Luke 17:21. He was teaching you quantum entanglement 2,000 years before your scientists discovered it. As above, so below. As within, so without. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm. That is the key. He touched my forehead, and I saw Sarah, not a memory, her, standing in a field of light that stretched forever in all directions. She smiled at me and spoke, and I heard her voice for the first time in 3 years. "Not yet, David, not yet. You have work to do." When I opened my eyes, he was still there, but the sky had changed. It was brighter. I looked at my watch. 4 hours had passed, but I had no memory of the time between. "What did you do to me?" He tilted his head in a way that reminded me of a bird. "I showed you what is, not what was, not what will be. What is. Time is a human construct, David. Your wife exists now. Your death exists now. Your choice exists now." He turned toward the sky, and I followed his gaze. The comet was gone, dipped behind the Earth's horizon, but I could still feel it somehow, like a hum in the back of my mind. 3 days from now, your NASA will announce that 3I Atlas exhibited unusual resilience during its solar passage. They will not understand why. The shield held because the cargo is precious. In 2029, it will return. Not the comet, but what it carried. 7 seeds will fall. 7 locations. 7 revelations. This is the countdown to the 7th seal. I knew that reference. Revelation 8:1. When he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. I'd heard that verse at Sarah's funeral. The pastor had used it to talk about the peace that comes after suffering. But this being was talking about something else, something literal. What happens when the 7th seal opens? He looked at me with those gold eyes, and for the first time, I saw something like sadness in them. Either your species ascends to the 4th density of consciousness, or it joins the first iteration in the archives of failure. The choice is not mine, it is yours. All of yours. Then he did something that still haunts me. He reached out and touched the fragment in my hand, and it lit up. Not with heat, but with cold. A cold so intense it burned. Symbols appeared on its surface, shifting and rotating like a digital display, but organic, alive. "This is a key," he said. "Guard it. When the time comes, you will know where to use it." And then he was gone. Not walking away, not fading, just gone like a television switched off. I stood there on that ridge until sunrise, holding the fragment, watching it pulse with that cold blue light. When the sun finally broke the horizon, the light faded and the symbols disappeared. I stumbled back to the house and uploaded the footage from my camera. It was all there. The pulse of light from 3I Atlas. The timestamp, 11:47 p.m., September 29th. I spent the next 3 days searching every news site, every scientific forum, every NASA update I could find. Nothing. No mention of the coronal mass ejection hitting the comet. Then, on October 2nd, NASA released a statement. Preliminary data from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter indicates that interstellar object 3I Atlas passed through a coronal mass ejection on September 30th and exhibited unexpected structural integrity. September 30th. They were off by 17 hours, exactly as he had said. I checked and rechecked my footage. The metadata was clear. September 29th, 11:47 p.m. I had evidence that something happened to that comet before NASA detected it. But evidence of what? A shield? A technology that wouldn't be discovered for 3 centuries? I needed to know more. I drove to the New Mexico State University Library in Las Cruces and spent 2 days reading everything I could find about coronal mass ejections, about comets, about 3I Atlas specifically. I learned that it was only the 3rd confirmed interstellar object ever detected. I learned that it was moving at 47 kilometers per second relative to the Sun. I learned that its trajectory was hyperbolic, meaning it came from outside our solar system and would eventually leave it again. But nowhere could I find any explanation for how an icy comet could survive a direct hit from a solar storm with enough energy to power every city on Earth for a year. Then I found something else, a paper published in 2019 by a team at MIT about theoretical electromagnetic shielding for spacecraft. The lead author was Dr. Rebecca Torres, a plasma physicist. The paper described a concept called a magnetohydrodynamic bubble shield that could, in theory, deflect charged particles from solar wind by generating a localized magnetic field. It was purely theoretical. The energy requirements were astronomical, far beyond anything human technology could produce, but the shape they described, the way the shield would appear if you could see it, matched exactly what I'd filmed, a perfect sphere of light expanding outward from the source. I tried to contact Dr. Torres. Her university email bounced back. I called the MIT department. They told me she'd left in 2023, no forwarding information. I was about to give up when I received an email from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line, just a message. I saw your footage. The timestamp is important. Meet me at White Sands, Gate 7, October 10th, 9 a.m. Come alone. Bring the fragment. It was signed with a single initial, R. I should have been terrified. I should have called the police, the FBI, someone, but I wasn't afraid. For the first time since Sarah died, I felt something else. Purpose. On October 10th, I drove to White Sands National Park, the same stretch of desert where they tested the first atomic bomb 80 years ago. Gate 7 was a maintenance access point, usually locked. It was open. I drove through and followed the dirt road for 3 miles until I saw a woman standing next to a silver Toyota with government plates. She was in her 50s, short dark hair, wire-rimmed glasses. She looked exactly like her faculty photo from MIT. "You're David Mercer," she said. It wasn't a question. "And you're Dr. Torres." She nodded. "Let me see it." I pulled the fragment from my pocket. It was still cold, still dark. She took it from me and held it up to the sun. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the symbols returned, flickering to life, and she gasped. "Where did you get this?" I told her everything. The telescope, the being, the vision of Sarah, the prediction about NASA's announcement. She listened without interrupting, her eyes never leaving the fragment. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "In 2019, she finally said, I was working on classified research for the Department of Defense. We were trying to reverse engineer a material recovered from an incident in Alaska in 2017. The military wouldn't tell us what the incident was, just that they had a sample of something not made on Earth. The molecular structure was impossible. It was metallic, but it existed in a state of quantum superposition. It was simultaneously solid and liquid, matter and energy. We couldn't cut it, couldn't melt it, couldn't even scratch it. But when we exposed it to certain electromagnetic frequencies, it displayed information, symbols, the same symbols that are on this fragment right now." She handed it back to me. "I was removed from the project in 2023 after I started asking questions about where it came from. They said it was a matter of national security. They paid me to disappear, but I never stopped looking. When I saw your footage, I knew. This is real. They're here. They've always been here." I felt vindicated and terrified at the same time. "What do we do?" She smiled, but it was a sad smile. "We wait. You said he told you 2029. That's when the seeds fall. That's when everything changes." I went back to the farm. I kept the fragment hidden in a lockbox buried under the barn. I stopped drinking. I started praying again, but not like before, not reciting words I'd memorized as a child. I prayed like I was having a conversation, asking questions, listening for answers. And sometimes I swear I heard them, not words but feelings, intuitions, knowings. I started noticing things, numbers, patterns. On November 18th, NASA released the photographs of 3I Atlas taken by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. The images were stunning. You could see the comet's tail, the glowing coma, the nucleus bright and compact. But if you looked closely, really closely, there was something else. Faint lines radiating outward from the nucleus, almost invisible, like spokes on a wheel. 7 lines, 7 spokes. I counted them 3 times. 7. The media called them optical artifacts or imaging anomalies. But I knew what they were. They were the seeds preparing to separate. The being had told me 7 seeds, 7 locations, 7 revelations. I called Dr. Torres. "Did you see the photos?" "I saw them," she said. "And I saw the 7 lines." "David, There's something else. The Hubble Space Telescope captured spectroscopic data of 3I Atlas in August. The data showed traces of amino acids and complex organic molecules. NASA buried it in a footnote, but I found it. That comet is carrying life. Not microbes, not bacteria. Something intentional, something designed. The weight of it hit me like a freight train. We weren't just witnessing a cosmic event. We were witnessing the next stage of human evolution, or the end of it. What about the test? I asked. The test he told you about. Her voice was quiet. We're living it, David. Every day. Every choice we make between fear and love, between separation and unity, between control and trust. That's the test. 6 months have passed since that night on the ridge. I still have the fragment. It still pulses with cold blue light when I hold it, still shows me symbols I can't read, but somehow understand. I've started a journal, documenting everything. The dates, the visions, the conversations with Dr. Torres, the patterns I'm seeing in the sky and in the news, wars escalating in the Middle East, earthquakes in unexpected places, unprecedented solar activity. Some people would call these signs of the end times. Maybe they are, but maybe they're signs of a beginning. The being told me that Jesus was one of them, incarnated to show us the path. I've been rereading the Gospels with new eyes. I and the Father are one, John 10:30. Not separate, not different, one, entangled. Before Abraham was, I am, John 8:58. Not I was, I am. Present tense, eternal now. And this one, which I'd never understood until now. I tell you the truth, anyone who believes in me will do the same works I have done, and even greater works, because I am going to be with the Father. John 14:12. Greater works. We have the potential to do greater works than Christ, not because we're better, but because we're ready, because the time has come, because the seeds are returning. I don't know what will happen in 2029 when those 7 seeds fall. I don't know if I'll be alive to see it, but I know this. We are not alone. We have never been alone. We are part of something vast and ancient and unimaginably beautiful. We are the third attempt. We are the synthesis of matter and spirit. We are the answer to a question the universe has been asking for 400 million years. Can consciousness and compassion coexist? Can a species love itself enough to survive? I'm choosing to believe the answer is yes. If you saw 3I Atlas in the night sky during October 2025, know that you weren't just seeing a comet. You were seeing a message. You were seeing hope. And if you're reading this now, wondering if any of it is true, I'll tell you what the being told me. The kingdom of God is within you, not someday, not in another life, now, right now. You are the miracle you've been waiting for. The countdown has begun. 7 seeds, 7 revelations, 7 chances to get it right. Don't waste them. The fragment is in my hand as I write this. It's glowing brighter than ever before. I think it knows something I don't. I think it knows that time is shorter than we realize. In 2029, everything changes. Watch the skies, trust the silence, and remember, you are not the accident of random chemistry. You are the beloved child of an infinite intelligence that has been trying to reach you since the moment you were born. The message is simple. Wake up, grow up, show up. The universe is waiting to see what we'll choose. I pray we choose love. I pray we choose unity. I pray we pass the test. Because if we don't, there won't be a 4th attempt.